everyone. I'm decided to do a blog around grief today. And if you're watching this, I'm sure that you either know somebody who's going through grief or you're going through grief yourself. And I've been through a lot of grief, but I've also worked with a lot of grief and I've done a lot of research about grief because it's something I'm quite passionate about because I think for, there's some things I would have liked to be helped with and been supported with. But there's some things I was helped with and supported with that were really, really helpful to me. And I think that it's important to share the love. It's important that people who are grieving, that we learn from one another and we teach people who haven't experienced grief when we're in a position to do so, to make this something that is easily accepted in society. Because one of the biggest things I know about grief is that it's inevitable somewhere down the track, whether it's losing a significant person, and you're bound to do that because we all die one day, or extreme loss of relationships, loss of pets, loss of properties, loss of jobs. We experience loss and bereavement in so many different ways that it's really important that this isn't something taboo in our society. That what I find, a lot of people can't handle being around those intense emotions for whatever reason. The worst people I find are actually people who've been through grief themselves sometimes, and they can't handle that being enlivened in them. And often that is because they have been unable to process their own grief. So today I'm going to talk about grief. And if you're watching this and you've lost somebody significant to yourself, I want to say I'm very sorry for your loss. And I wish there was a magic pill to make you feel better right now, because it's hard. It's really, really hard, and it feels like it's never ending. And the first thing I want to say about grief is it hits you on all levels. There is no escaping it. It hits your appetite. You lose interest in food, or you eat too much. Your sleep goes all over the place. You feel numb. You just can't imagine your life going on. You live moment by moment. It's just all encompassing, and it's this restlessness. You have a restlessness inside you that you want to talk about it, but you don't. You want to be distracted, but it's too much. Any small thing seems to be too overwhelming. You're tired, but you can't sleep. You're hungry, but you can't eat. You feel sick physically. You might even get sick. It's very common. Your immune system goes really down and you'll pick up everything under the sun, and this can go on for quite some time. Grief can go on for quite some time. There is no limit to how long you need to grieve for. And the important thing to remember is that grief and this pain that you're feeling and all these array of emotions, and some of them I've described now, that is something that is so normal. Whatever you're experiencing is normal. To feel this intense emotion is a normal reaction to losing someone and missing someone that you really, really love, or something that you really, really love. But for the sake of this blog, I'm going to talk about missing a person or a pet that you really, really love, and that's passed away, and the finality of it is something that you just can't think about. And it takes a long time for you to think about it. It takes a long time for your mind to accept this loss, to accept this tragedy. And different forms of grief can have their own set of problems. Perhaps you lost more than one person. Perhaps it was an illness that dragged out for a long time and you thought you could prepare, but realized that nothing can prepare you for the loss. And the regrets that you feel when you lose someone, and a tragedy that comes suddenly and you're in such a shock, and it's 1 minute they're there, the next day gone, and you've had no preparation. Perhaps they're old and you know that their time was up, but you were really close to them and you still wish they were here. One hand you might think you're happy that they're not suffering anymore, but the other hand is, what about me? What do I do? What about my suffering now? There's so much that can come up in grief, and all of it is okay. All of it is normal. There is no right or wrong way to grieve. Every single person in the world, no matter what culture, grieves in their own unique way. We have some commonalities, and I'll speak about some of them in a minute. But for the most part, that person was special to you. That relationship with that person or that pet was incredibly unique to you. You shared something between that person that nobody else knows about. Nobody else is going to miss them quite like you. And it doesn't matter if they were closer to other people, and because a lot of people feel that I don't want to bring up my grief. Their mum or their partner must be feeling 10 times worse than me, or other people go through so much worse than I have. And we do this comparison thing that I find it was really, really unhelpful. You are the person who's dealing with all your feelings. You are the person who's got to do this, and you are the one who's feeling that loss. And you can have empathy and compassion for other people, but you need to honor yourself, honor your feelings in this process, and allow yourself, and that's the word I want to highlight, allow yourself to be in pain. Allow yourself to be with whatever emotion comes up. Cut yourself some slack. You're not going to be able to do the things that you did before this grief with productivity and with that get up and go thing in the same way until you've gone through this grieving process. Perhaps you don't want to grieve just yet. Perhaps you're distracting yourself and you're getting right to it. That's your coping mechanism, and that's okay too. Some people want to leave the house and get away and escape it. That's okay. Some people want to stay in all those memories and don't want to leave and need to cry and be in that place. That's okay. Some people do cry a lot. That's okay. Some people really struggle to connect to that pain and cry. They're afraid that if they start, they'll never stop. That's okay. I want to reassure you today, and something that I've learned. The first thing was that anything you're feeling is normal. Anything you're feeling, whether you're crying, whether you're not crying. People have expectations on people in grief, and those are just a complete lack of understanding, or just society's way, media, how grief is portrayed, and we think we have work gives you a few weeks off maybe if you're lucky, and you should be okay. You have your time, your set time to get through it. Like you break a leg, you have your 6 weeks, then you're back to scratch. You might have a bit of building up rehabilitation, but other than that, you should be good to go. Grief changes you. Losing somebody changes you. That's the bottom line. You will always miss that person. Of course you will. You wouldn't expect that if the people that you love that are still alive, if you knew they were going to die, you know you will always miss them because they're important to you. That's okay. The reassurance here is that you hear time heals, all of that it does. But not in the way you might think. You don't get over grief. You go through grief and enter a path of acceptance. You learn to live with this pain. You learn to live with the loss. And you learn to manage it in a way that it isn't so intense, that it doesn't affect you in the same way anymore, that it doesn't feel like your whole world's stopping. You find a way to get through it and move forward. But you will have breakdowns. A very special person said to me when I was grieving the loss of my mother that she had been told that it doesn't, the intensity of the pain doesn't go away. It just becomes less frequent. And I really responded well to that, because what I like to do is I like to set aside a time when I'm starting to feel that I can feel it coming up. I'm quite empathic, so emotions are very important to me. And when I've been going through a tough time and things are just all feeling like they're accumulating and I'm thinking about my mum a lot, I set aside a time where I'm on my own. I need to be on my own to have a good cry. And I play the soppy music, I light candles, I get out the photo albums and I sob. And it's exhausting and it sometimes gives me a bit of a headache afterwards. But it's such a release for me. It's something I want to do. Sometimes with anger, I tell people I'm counseling through grief, maybe you need to go and punch a pillow and get that out, expend that energy, just get it out somewhere that is controlled. Set yourself something up to control it. Do you need to drive up somewhere where you're all alone to shout? Screaming is such a great release. just screaming whatever comes to mind. Don't put thought in, just get that out. Find a way to be with that emotion and get that out. Be kind to yourself, be gentle, really tune in. What do you need? Do you need to sleep a lot? Then sleep a lot. Do you need a bit of help? Are you not sleeping? Do you need to go to the doctor and maybe get a sleeping pill to just zonk out for a few nights and recharge? What do you need? Get some support. And what I found is grief counseling is the most helpful thing. There's different forms of it and for different stages. But if you're finding that you're struggling and you just need that support and people aren't able to give you that support, because that's a lot of people can't. A lot of people find this very difficult to bear, and that's not anything to do with you. That's because this level of intense emotion is something we're just ill prepared for. And that's the point of this blog, is I want to show you that you're not alone. You're not alone in this, that it's something that people in grief all go through in some way or the other, that intensity, that pain, that anger, that mixed emotion, that confusing, that feeling like the rug's been pulled out from under you feeling, and that you can't go on, that you can't possibly go on without this person. You're not alone. You're not alone in this, but there's hope. You can get through. Sometimes it's hard to start talking about it. Maybe you need a bit of assistance and help. Grief counseling is a place where that counselor is gentle and will help you keep things contained for you while you navigate this incredible loss. Support groups are amazing. Linking in with other people who have been through grief is possibly one of the most helpful things, and hearing how they've gone through, feeling that hope, just knowing that you're not alone in this. Because sometimes it's not that people don't want to listen, but you feel guilty about burdening them. You feel like you're the downer, or you feel pressure. People want to help, and in wanting to help, they sometimes tell you, come out, do this, you've been wallowing for long enough, cheer up, do this, do that. And the last thing you want to do is go and socialize. The last thing you want to do is cheer up. You just want to be bummed. You want to be upset. You want to be angry. You want to be unsociable, or you want to go off and do something and not think about it. Whatever you need to do, that's what you've got to honor yourself in acknowledging and trying to do that, trying very hard to meet your own needs, and understanding that at the moment you just need to be in the present. You'll probably be in the past so much, things will be flooding you from the past. Trying to think about the future can be incredibly overwhelming. So take it one step at a time, one day at a time. Do what you need to do to just get through, and know that repressing it and taking pills, the doctors like to prescribe pills. It's the worst thing you can do, because all it's going to do is prolong it. The only way to handle grief is to feel it and to go through it. And if your subconscious, if I can reassure you again, your unconscious or subconscious or higher self, or however you like to look at it, will never give you more than you can handle. That it'll never give you more than you can handle. It might feel like you can't handle it, but know in your heart, have faith in what I'm saying here. You can. If it's coming to you, you can handle it. Nobody ever cries forever. Nobody ever feels pain forever. It's the sooner you acknowledge and be with it, the sooner it will be released. But you've got to process so much, so it can be a really long period of time that you're going through lots of pain, and anniversaries and significant dates and all that can be really tricky, and you will relive this. And that's normal. You're going to miss them. Try to do something fun on those tough dates, or something honoring them, or setting that time up to have that cry if you need it, or be around people that do make you feel better, that help you, that you can find to support you. And if you don't have those people, actively seek them out. As I said, grief groups, great way to link people together and to get that support in a really safe way. So there's a lot more to say, and I will probably make another blog, and if anyone has any questions and wants me to go through something, please do say, and I will do my best. So, and if you want to ask me questions on how I got through my grief, I'm very open and happy to share. So hang in there. Bye.